Well, hello, everybody out there. Welcome to what is going to be a really good time. I am so excited. Hope everybody can hear me, by the way. I am so excited because we have joining us today one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, a National League champion, a Cy Young Award finalist, and perhaps best of all, a South Jersey guy, Zac Gallen. Zac, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well. How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's going great. Thank you for being here. So many things I want to talk to you about, but I guess I want to start with you just wrapped up an incredibly long season. The Arizona Diamondbacks won the National League Championship, made it to the World Series. You were a finalist for the Cy Young Award. You probably, not probably, according to my research, you pitched by far the most innings you've ever pitched in a season. So as I speak to you live right now on December 8th, 2023, what's going on in your world in terms of physically? What are you doing? Are you recovering? Are you already preparing? Like where are you in sort of that mode right now in terms of just taking taking a breather or a break from that long season, but also getting ready for another run at it next year in 2024.
Yeah. Yeah, we like you said, we played into the World Series, so I think our last game was November 1st. And I don't remember playing that long since, travel ball, playing, fall ball. So it's kind of uncharted territory for me trying to figure out how much time to take to recover, and how much time to take away from the game. In normal years where we haven't made the playoffs, years past, I've kind of just taken maybe the month of October off to try to
Mm-hmm.
totally decompress. But with us playing a little bit longer, you kind of don't have that luxury. So I'm at the spot in between now where I'm trying to mix relaxation also in with still kind of moving around, and not trying to lose too much ground. So yeah, so working out 2 to 3 times a week now, just something light, and still trying to figure out when to fully ramp up. But yeah, trying to sprinkle in some vacations and some downtime and recovery and stuff into that too. It's been a little tricky.
I can imagine. Like, how do you feel right now? Like, do you feel like you just pitched the most innings in the longest season ever? Or do you feel good? Are you because like I'll tell you, and we'll talk about this a little more. Just as a fan, um, I'm not a Phillies fan, but I'm live near Philadelphia in New Jersey, and I was able to go to all of the Phillies playoff games, and they didn't even make it to the World Series thanks to you guys. But by the end of that seventh game of the National League Championship Series, I was wiped out, and I'm just a guy sitting in the stands watching the games. Like, how are you sort of feeling? And how did that season impact you once it was all wrapped up and you were sort of able to put a bow on it?
Yeah, I kind of the thing I've been telling a lot of people is that I think your body is definitely physically tired, but you don't feel it. I think you're just kind of running off adrenaline at that
Mm-hmm.
point. It's like you just kind of show up, each day and just try and keep doing the same thing you've been doing. By the end, I think a lot of guys will tell you they're more mentally tired than anything
Mm-hmm.
because, I mean, you're talking about you're playing. I don't know how many games we played, but every pitch, every inning, you're on the edge of your seat. It's a little different than playing a game in June. I'm not saying those games don't matter as much, but it's live or die every pitch. So you're
Mm-hmm.
mentally exhausted, even just sitting on the bench watching the games. And then the physical exhaustion probably hit me like I would say 2 or 3 days after the season was over. Like I
Mm-hmm.
remember sitting on the couch and like not wanting to get up. I was like, all right, it's hitting me now. So it was probably a good, you know, 3 to 4 days of me just being like, wow, all right, there it is. So I probably took, I don't know, maybe a week or two, 2.5 weeks the most of like, I'm just gonna try and recover and not do anything and just trying to get back into normal life or kind of reacclimate myself to not having to go in the field every day. But yeah, I didn't want to be stagnant too long. But it definitely mentally more exhausting than physically. While you're going through it.
So talked about New Jersey a little bit. Now you're from South Jersey originally. I think you went to high school there as well before you went to college in North Carolina. Did you grow up a Phillies fan, or were you a fan of another team, or like what was your sort of relationship to Major League Baseball when you were a kid growing up in South Jersey?
Yeah, that I think that got pretty widely publicized there in that series against the Phillies. They had a little displeasure that I was a Cardinals fan growing up.
Okay, okay,
I was a huge Mark McGuire fan. Like
okay.
when I remember watching, first time I remember watching like ESPN was around '98, and McGuire's hitting a home run. It seemed like every time he swung the bat, and I just wanted to be like, I want to be like that guy. And then the Phillies or the Cardinals, excuse me, were good
Mm-hmm.
when I really started to like pay attention to baseball. So it kind of just worked out that I became a Cardinals fan.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was, but I'm a Phillies fan with the Eagles and Sixers. But yeah,
Okay.
baseball, I just loved Mark McGuire, and then it turned into Pujols and Eckstein. So yeah, I was a Cardinals fan.
Okay, so I'm going to divert here for just a minute. I'm a huge Eagles fan. I know you're an Eagles fan. That was a rough game Sunday against the 49ers. What are you thinking about this game Sunday night against the Cowboys? Tell me you feel good about it. Tell me they're going to win.
Yeah, I do feel good.
All right.
I think they're going to come in with a little chip on their shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
I think the tough part. I mean, this is the thing. The Eagles are still 10-2. They're still
Mm-hmm.
number one in the conference. So I wouldn't hit the panic button just yet.
Oh, I'm hitting it.
But
I'm hitting the
yeah,
panic button, man. I'm hitting it.
I think what you saw probably was a little. I don't want to say fatigue, but I mean you're talking about a 5 game gauntlet that they went through there, and it's like to
Yes.
end up 4-1. I'll take that, but I mean I think you got to give more credit to the 49ers who looked really good,
Man.
and yeah, so I think the Eagles know what's at stake for this game coming up here. I mean you can hopefully put a bow on the division you win in this game.
Yeah. True.
So we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited.
Has as a professional, as a major league ball player, and you've been a major leaguer. I think 2019 was your first season in the major leagues. Does that change your perspective on how you watch other sports, such as the NFL or the NBA? Like, do you sort of have a different perspective on that, or when you're watching other sports as a fan, are you still just like like the crazy fans like me who just live and die and emotionally go through these roller coasters every one of these games?
No, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I think it's kind of in your I don't know. It seems the South Jersey, Philadelphia area fans is in their blood to be diehard.
Yeah.
And I think for me, the playing fantasy football is where it kind of changed. Of
Okay.
like,
Okay.
once I started getting messages of like, "Hey, you didn't win me this week like fantasy," I was like, "All right, I can't hold it against the receiver who doesn't catch a touchdown that week."
Right.
It's like my game plan just didn't work out. So yeah, I've definitely it just gives you an appreciation like how hard those sports are, and I think what a lot of people forget, even professional athletes in other sports. You watch, the best athletes in the world play basketball, football, like whatever it is, and they're so good at it, they make it look so easy that
Yeah.
everyone can do it. So that's kind of where like I've definitely caught myself sometimes being like, "Oh, how'd you drop that ball?" Or "How'd you
Right.
do
Oh,
whatever?" And
sure.
it's like, but I tend to catch myself now and trying to be like, "Oh, that was probably a whatever something." Trying to assimilate to whatever happens in the game where I don't make a pitch or player doesn't make a play or whatever.
So when I talk to folks like yourself in these situations, I like to sort of almost go backwards in chronology, right? I mean, it's easy to sort of let's start at the very beginning and let's talk about your high school career, your college career. But I want to touch on something, and this has a happy ending. So I don't want you to be concerned about this. But
All right.
I mentioned I went to all of the playoff games at Citizens Bank Park, including obviously the National League Championship Series. And game one of the NLCS, you pitched in Philadelphia. And I remember distinctly, I was sitting in the stands, I was watching the game, I was watching you pitch. And, you know, you weren't, I don't think the word struggling is the right word. But you gave up a couple runs in the first, one in the second, one in the third. Um, and I remember sitting there next to the person I was at the game with. I was like, "Wow, I've been trained in as a fan watching these playoff games for the manager to come charging out of the mound like the second there's any trouble for the starting pitcher, and the starting pitcher is gone, right? Like he's out in the first inning and the second inning, like first sign of trouble." And not only did the manager sort of leave you in and let you continue to work through the lineup, I think you went 5 full innings and may have even gone out for the sixth. But I distinctly remember saying to my friend, I was like, I wonder, like, if this is really the manager telling Zac Gallen either explicitly before the game or during the game or not explicitly, just like, I have confidence in you. You're the Cy Young candidate guy. You're the leader of our team. You're pitching game one. Like, were you did he tell you before the game that, hey, you're going to be out there for a while, or I need you to go 5 or 6, or like were you expecting him to come out and maybe take you early? Like, to me, that was really really impressive that he let you stay in there and fight through that in a tough environment in a playoff game. I'm curious what your take is on how that unfolded, and whether I was completely off base, or whether I was actually sort of feeling the vibe of like, your
No,
manager's going to let you stay in there and fight through it.
I think you were close. There was no discussion between Tori and myself of like, hey, you're gonna, it's kind of, I don't know, unwritten in the sense of like, you're one of our guys. Like, we expect, I personally from myself expect myself to be out there for 6 innings. Like, ideally, a start goes 6 innings, that's fine. It really good 7, 8, whatever. But like, my job is to get us through at least 5 if things aren't going as planned. So for me, it was like, all right, I'm always doing the math in my head on pitch counts and kind of seeing where the lineup's at, and just knowing like, okay, is this probably gonna be my last hitter? Do I have to stretch the lineup a little bit more? Whatever it is. But I think that what you saw kind of comes from Tori and I having like a really good relationship and like having good communication, where in certain times in the season, he'll come to me or I'll say to him like, hey, like I'm running out of gas here. Like, if you want to get somebody up for this batter, or you want to let him get a clean inning, or he knows when I come to him and say like, I'm good. Like, I got the next inning, I got the next how many ever batters, whatever the plan is. So yeah, I think it's just kind of like we just have trust in each other. Like, him knowing like, if I look at him and say like, I'm good, I'll get you through 5. Like, as long as that's within the game plan Tori wants to go with. We're I feel like we're pretty spot on with that. So, I mean, obviously the games don't go. You can't throw a shutout every time, but there's certain points where it's like, okay, this is going to be a 7-game series. Like, I need to lengthen this thing out a little bit more and at least do my job to save a bullpen inning or 2, whatever it is here and there. So there's different things that people don't necessarily realize watching the game that kind of go on necessarily behind the scenes or in the player's head that they're also calculating.
And when I'm watching a series, I'm always thinking of it in terms of the series. And to me, watching that game was very indicative of, I think, your manager, Lavulo, was thinking of it in terms of the series as well. Because if he comes and pulls you in the second or the third, and then he has to use 6 or 7 or 8 guys in the bullpen, yeah, you might somehow be able to scratch claw and win. You might not. You wind up losing the game, but winning the series anyway. But I feel like he was managing that game from the series perspective, where he was going to, not burn you out by making you go 7 or 8, but also not burn out the bullpen for the first game of the series. Did you have that perspective too, that was much more of this is not all about one game. This is about managing for the series to put the Diamondbacks in the best position to win 4 games, not this one game, 4 games in whatever way, shape, or form those 4 games come.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a weird spot because every game is a must win. So you're like, oh, well, we want to win that, but at the same time, like you said, it's like ultimately you have to win 4 games before you lose 3. So it's like, all right, maybe Torrey was like, all right, I'm going to give you that fifth inning because I don't want to bring in a certain reliever and give certain hitters a look at that guy. I might be able to save that reliever and those certain sequences or whatever for another time in a moment where it might be a little higher leverage. So there's a lot more cat and mouse that goes into it, than I think even I realized. Like I got taken out in the Dodgers series with like 85 pitches, and it was kind of like, hold on, I'm throwing really well here. Like, what's going on? And he's like, we have there's a plan in place that I wanted to execute, and he executed it well, and it worked out, and we wound up winning the game. So it's like they go into the game as much as I know some of the baseball purists love just watch and feel. There's so much more data and things that the managers' fingertips that they can kind of use in their advantage. So yeah, I think all that kind of just plays into it. But like I said, it goes back to just having trust, between myself and Tori of like, hey, I'm good. Like if you need me to I think I even asked for, I forget what game it was. I was like, I'm good for another inning. Like I'll stretch this to 6. I know we're not winning or whatever it is, but like I'll get you so we can save whoever it is behind me for another point in, another game of the series or whatever.
Now, again, as a fan, there was playing at Citizens Bank Park, or excuse me, as a fan watching a game at Citizens Bank Park in the playoffs. We've heard a lot of talk about it. How intense it was and how loud it was, and it was. Like I was there. It was intense. Did you really feel that? Does that have an impact on you in any way, or are you able to, you know, I don't know if the word shut it out because you can't shut it out, but like I'm curious what the atmosphere of Citizens Bank Park in those games where you were pitching there in the NLCS, what was that impact on you? Whether it was very specific, a moment where you remember, or whether it sort of pumps you up. I'm curious what that impact is
Yeah,
too.
I kind of had a feeling of what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had talked about before, of like it's it's almost like a physical activity being a fan. Like I've being an Eagles fan, like
Yes.
I've gone to Eagles and Cowboys games, and you're like standing for 95% of the game.
Yes. Oh
So it's
God.
like
Yes. Yes.
you're like after the game, you're like, did I play in the game? It's like what you feel like, and it's like. So I knew what to expect. I'd seen it just from just being in the air. I knew kind of what was going on. The what I was surprised about really was how much like the stadium gets loud. Don't get me wrong. Like the fans, they show out. They're very into it. They're passionate. But after a while, it's so loud it almost turns into white noise.
Mm.
So it's like it almost drowns itself out, which is kind of a weird thing to say because it's you know 40, 50,000. I don't know how many people they hold, but like it's just people making noise. It's like, I mean, they're into the whole game, which is really good. I mean, that's like, you can see why guys love to play there. You see why people want to be a part of that whole just kind of culture and community. But yeah, it's the, the weird thing is that we were talking about is like the games where you play and there's nobody in the stands and you can hear that one, idiot down the right field line, like saying something. Those are the games where you're like, man, I couldn't shut that guy out. But you get just a huge group of people just making noise at the same time. It's almost a little easier to tune it out. It's kind of weird. Yeah. But I mean, I joked. It was like, I gave up a home run on the first pitch, so the stadium couldn't get much louder than it already was. So I was like, oh, at this point, I'm playing with house money with the noise. But yeah, the fans there, I knew that it was going to be loud. Like I said, I've been to Eagles games and whatnot, and just kind of knew what to expect. But it was kind of interesting to hear, like everyone else kind of was like, it does turn into white noise after a while. Just, it's there, it's loud, but if you don't give them anything to cheer about, it's not as loud. So
Right.
that was kind of our thought on how we could take the crowd out of it. It was like, all right, we have to just go in there and try and take the crowd out of it at first. Score first, have a shutdown inning, whatever it is.
One of the most impressive things I've seen any team do in the last few years is what your team did, coming back to Philadelphia, down 3 games to 2, and winning games 6 and 7 of the National League Championship Series. Is it all the cliches that you always hear? Take it one pitch at a time, take it one game at a time, or was there something specific that your manager said, or that the GM said, or that somebody on the team said, or was there a player meeting, or was there anything specifically that you think sparked that Game 6 and Game 7 wins in Philadelphia to win the National League pennant?
I think nobody really said any, not that I know, at least. There could have been, I mean, we have pitcher and hitter meetings like to prep before a game or a series, whatever. So I don't know what the hitters might have said exactly, but there really wasn't anything said in the pitchers meeting. I think we were familiar with how the crowd was going to be. We knew kind of what it was going back to Philly, but I think we kind of went in with the thought of like, okay, we got to take the crowd out of it. So like, if we can score first, have a shutdown inning and score first, we'll be fine. Like we just have to, for lack of a better phrase, like go in there and just kind of punch them in the mouth. We can punch them in the mouth. We take the crowd out of it. It'll just ease everything going on in the dugout. But I think the other thing was like the mantra of we were playing with house money. Like nobody expected us to win. So we went to Philly of like, all right, we go and we lose in 6 games to the World Series runner-up from the year before. Like everyone was like, this is a great year. So I think we kind of played with just no expectation, and we weren't tight. We were super loose. It was like whatever happens, we win. And then I think that's when you kind of saw like guys were at ease. We scored first, guys were at ease, and like I think that just is what worked out in our favor.
What is it? What is it like to win a National League pennant? Like, is it a feeling that you had sort of had some similar type of experience prior? Whether you're in college or other other events, or was it something you expected, or I'm curious, just like in that moment in the clubhouse when you're not immediately, but like an hour or two after the game, like are you? I'm just curious what that feeling is like by winning a pennant, because it's really hard to win a pennant and a lot
It
harder now
is.
than it probably ever used to be.
Yeah, it's a weird, it's strange because like it's you kind of hopefully see it happening as the game's going on. You're leading, whatever, it's not. So you're kind of watching, you're on the edge of your seat, and then you celebrate, and then you celebrate like I don't know, like we'd celebrate at the field, champagne, pictures, whatever, and then kind of we'd have like a team party back at the hotel, whatever, and then we were off to Texas the next day, so it's like
Right.
you don't have much time to really enjoy the celebration. But no, I didn't have anything of that magnitude growing up. Really, the only thing I can remember that was like a true task of us winning was my junior year in high school. We won the Diamond Classic, and that
Mhm.
was like, kind of we were like, oh, this is like awesome. We never won a state championship, so like that was the closest I'd gotten as like a kid. So yeah, it was just, it was I mean, 95% of our clubhouse, it was like the first time anyone popped champagne. So like, yeah, it was unbelievable, and I think that's what made it even more special was that you had how many other guys never had done this before, and you're getting to do it on the biggest stage of the sport you play. Was exciting, really.
Now the World Series obviously didn't go your way, but your performance in Game 5 is one for the ages. I believe, you're perfect through 6. Um, did you know, like when you're warming up in the bullpen, that you had something special going on that night, or did you almost sort of surprise yourself with how effective you were? And at the same time, are you watching Nathan Eovaldi just getting out of these ridiculous jams one another, just being like, "Come on, man, are you serious? I'm here dealing, and this guy is like getting the luckiest bounces in the history of bounces."
Yeah, no, I didn't feel like, I mean, a lot of people had asked on like throughout the playoffs, like, what's your workload look like? Are you still throwing? And I'm like, I'm treating this thing like it's July. Like I'm still trying to throw and figure out what's going on. Like obviously I didn't feel great, 2 games in Philly, and felt a little bit better in Texas, but I was like, I really want to try and hammer this down. Like I would be disappointed in myself if I went home at the end of the year going, I kind of, for lack of a better word, gave up and was like, oh, I'm just gonna do with what I got. Like I was still trying to hammer away and try and figure out what's going on and still trying to make those adjustments. So my thought, like I just tried to simplify. I looked at the last, 4 of the games I've pitched in the playoffs, and I'd given up a run, at least a run in the first inning. So I'm like, all right, I just need a shutdown inning. That's where I'm gonna start. And got through the first inning. It felt like my stuff was pretty good, and I think I think any starting pitcher will tell you that first inning is the toughest, no matter what. Like, you just got to
Mm.
settle into the vibe of the game, get the feel of the mound, just everything around you. So yeah, I was like, all right, I'll settle in. And I'm not one of the pitchers that kind of is like, oh, I didn't talk about a no hitter. Like, I knew like at the third or fourth inning, I was like, all right, I haven't given up a hit yet. And I was trying to do the math in my head of like, I feel pretty good about the pitch count where I'm at, and I think I can get through this lineup. And then just didn't I threw a good pitch, but could have been a little bit better to Seager. And, it's Corey Seager. Like, you can't give him anything to work with. So, but yeah, I mean, I had said, I feel like, and there's not many times I've had in my career where I'm like, I feel like I have no hitter stuff, but like that was a night where I was like, I feel like I got it tonight. So if I can get 9 more outs, we'll see what happens. But obviously, like you said, it didn't work out in our favor.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible season. I have to believe that once you're able, to sort of take stock of the season, a couple days afterwards, maybe a week or two afterwards, you have to look back and just be thrilled with the success of the team. Obviously, your individual successes we'll talk about a little bit, more. Obviously winning 17 games, being a top finalist for the Cy Young, but you had, I would imagine, you and everybody associated with the Diamondbacks sort of looks back and feels really good about 2023 and is probably even more excited about 2024.
Yeah, that's been the fun part of going around town and going out to dinner, and just like a lot of fans coming up to us now, and it's like the fans here really haven't, in terms of baseball, haven't anything to cheer about super crazy.
Yeah.
Make the playoffs in 17, and we had been told like, if you guys win, you guys go to the playoffs, like the fans are gonna show up. And yeah, so like it's been really fun hearing a lot of people like, even though we lost, it's been, people were like, you got me back into baseball. Like, it's so much fun to watch. And it was like, and I think it was the feeling of watching us play is like genuine of what it's like in the clubhouse. Like, everyone just like hangs out. There's like little like, not cliques, but like just groups that like to do certain things, and like everyone just kind of gels together. And it's not like, it's just like having, as cliche as it is, 26 brothers, whatever it is, 25 brothers in there, and just kind of hanging out and like, come to the field and enjoy being around each other. So it was like, people were like, we could see that, we got that vibe from you guys when we were watching you play. But at the same time, it's like, I sat on my couch like the week after we lost, and I must have said it to myself like 10 times a day, like, man, I can't believe we lost the World Series. Like, but you're at that weird spot of like, no, you need to be proud of like what you did, but you also need to, like Torrey had said to us after the season, he's like, don't ignore the fact that we lost. Like, allow that to kind of settle in, like, because if you just ignore it, you'll never be able to get over it. You'll be stuck on that roadblock. So I would just kind of put it away, but I'm like, I will kind of dive into that and see how those feelings are. And I think it's made the people coming up and being very appreciative and very like just grateful that like you just had a good team, that it's made it a little bit more enjoyable.
So your 2023 season was incredible. You had 17 victories. You led the team to a playoff appearance. It was being a Cy Young finalist is not new for you. I think this is the third time that you finished in the top 10 for the Cy Young, but I feel like it was a little different this year. You finished actually third. At what point during the regular season this year did you sort of, or was there a point where you really started to feel like, okay, I've really sort of got it going, right? I've got it together. This is, I'm really sort of seeing or feeling things differently. Like, was there a point, or was it at the very beginning? I'm curious, sort of, as the season progressed, was there a point when you really realized, wow, this thing is really coming together? I'm feeling good. I'm pitching well. I'm better than I've been before. Because in you've had some good years in the past, but this year was definitely something bigger and better than you've been able to put together until this year.
Yeah, it was kind of for anyone who like followed us super closely. I didn't feel great in spring training. Like, it didn't have great spring training starts. So like, I'm still trying to figure out how to use spring training. Like, is it it's obviously naturally like a build up phase, but like, what am I working for? What are like the benchmarks I'm trying to hit where I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm really ready. And like, coming into the season, like, I felt okay. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, I had a full season's workload the year before, and like just trying to figure out how that felt. And I'm like, it felt all right. First two starts of the year, don't go as planned. And I feel like some people inside the organization were maybe hitting a panic button, and everyone was like, hold on, we got 30 more of these things to go. Like, let's just see what happens. And then I went on a streak of starts, another 28 scoreless innings, and like I think I had one walk and 50 strikeouts. Like just it, like for some reason things were going really well, and I didn't really feel great. I was just trying to make pitches, and I had said that after a few outings of, that reporters come up and they say, they ask questions. I'm like, I know the numbers look good and the results were good, but like I still don't feel dialed in like myself. So it was kind of a year long of like not feeling super comfortable as I did the year before, but still some better numbers. And then I think at the end of the year, just kind of maybe hit a wall there in August or September, whatever it was, where numbers took a little dip, but I kind of patted myself a nice cushion in the sense with numbers. But yeah, I mean, it was a year long of me trying to figure out, what's off, why are things looking a little different metrically, why am I feeling a little different. So yeah, so it's kind of, I've had the tale of two seasons. I've had, last year was the second half, and then this year was the first half. So hopefully next year I can put them both together and have a good first and second half.
Man, if you put it together any more than you did this year, then the National League better look the heck out. You also made the All-Star team for the first time this year. I'm curious what your experience was there. Are there one or two moments that sort of stick with you with your All-Star game experience? I know it's a whirlwind, right? You get in, there's the media stuff, there's the home run derby, there's the All Star game, and then you're out. So, were you able to enjoy it at all? A lot? Were there some interesting moments, sometimes in the All Star game? How was your All Star experience?
Yeah, it's definitely a whirlwind. You're spot on with that. The funny thing, somebody was talking about was that how the media coverage and the media responsibilities of the players is very similar to the World Series. Like,
Mm.
it was a pretty solid foreshadowing that someone was telling me that, and it's like, this is what you have to expect going forward. And they're like, this is why they have the managers from the two World Series teams the year before, because they kind of understand how to handle it, and they know what to expect. So that was a solid foreshadowing as I'm looking back on it now. But yeah, the whole thing was a whirlwind. It was good to have my family out there and experience that, that kind of moment. There's, I think for me, I grew up a Derek Jeter fan too. Like,
Hmm.
just like every kid, I think, in the Northeast or across America was a Derek Jeter fan. So getting to meet him and talk to him for a couple minutes on the media day was really cool. But just kind of being in the clubhouse and kind of, at that point now, being looked at the same level of guys, your peers, guys you looked up to, I thought was really cool. Sharing a clubhouse with Clayton Kershaw and just guys like that I watched growing up, was kind of a surreal moment.
So now heading into 2024, you're a leader on this team. You're still a very young pitcher, but yet you're now a big integral part of a National League championship team. Again, you're a leader. I'm curious, sort of, whether that is something that you sort of tell yourself, or whether other people tell you that, whether that is sort of almost unspoken, like you said, some things in the game are unspoken, and how you sort of how you feel like your responsibilities, are they changing a little bit more, heading into next year with the expectations and sort of being looked upon as one of the guys who's going to be the leaders of this Arizona Diamondbacks club.
Yeah, so I would say probably going into 22 was, that's my last year, my rookie deal. So that's my third year, fourth year, I guess, in the big leagues. And at that point, Tori had kind of said to me, like, hey, listen, like, I know you're young and this is kind of against the grain a little bit, but this is going to kind of become your staff here soon, you and Merrill. Like, this is like, you guys are going to be here when the next wave comes up. So like, I'm tasking you guys with the responsibility of taking on that leadership role, even though we have some guys here that are older than you and have a lot more experience and things like that. It's like, I think the nucleus is going to grow when you guys take hold of this thing. So 22 was kind of the first start of that. And then 23, like, getting a little bit more feel, and just trying to figure out how to help myself, but also help younger guys. Like that's one thing that I kind of struggle with, I guess you could say, in the sense of like I'm so trying to just focus on what I'm trying to do and try and get better, but at the same time, like not close off to the younger guys when they might have a question. Like I think of myself just as me. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
think of myself as someone that's can offer information to other people. So that's kind of been an adjustment that, probably going forward this year is like being a little bit more open to the younger guys that are going to be in camp with us, guys that are, double A, triple A that we could see maybe this time this year, or even guys we have on the team, with Fott or Ryan Nelson or Tommy Henry, guys like that, like just being able to spread some knowledge. Tori kind of jokes, he's like, where you've stubbed your toe twice, help them stub their toe once. Like, so
Mm.
you don't kind of, so it's, yeah, it's a little different because I'm not a vocal leader. That's not my MO. I'm just kind of a lead by example. I sit in the back of the room and I'm very observant. And then if I have something to say that's really, pressing, I'll speak up. But for the most part, I just kind of take it all in and then, you know, filter through the information from there.
It sounds like you've got a great relationship with your manager, Tori Lavulo. That's really, eh, I'm making an assumption, but it sounds like you do. But it also sounds like he's really helped you out quite a bit, especially this past season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, from the first week, month, I forget what it was exactly when I got here. Um, there was a start in Colorado, and everyone knows Colorado is not an easy place to pitch. And
Yeah.
I hadn't thrown really that bad. I wasn't being very efficient. So it took me 90 something pitches to get through 4 innings.
Mm.
And after the fourth, he's like, that's it, you're done. I'm like, whoa, I'm good for like 110 at least. Like, I'm used to throwing 110 pitches like in college. And he comes up and he's like, listen, he's like, I treat this Colorado with the altitude and all the things, I add 10 to 15 pitches on. So to me, you're already at 110 pitches. He's like, but I promise you this. He's like, if you're honest with me, I'm honest with you. He's like, I will give you, we're going to be able to sit down and have conversations and I'm going to be able to trust you and go, if you're good, all right, cool. I'm fine with that. He's like, but you're just young right now. I need to protect you. Our relationship just isn't there yet. So for him to tell a young player at that point in time, I don't know, 3 months in the big leagues, and for him to kind of give me that responsibility, like I'm giving you a little bit right now, but we're gonna get there. Just kind of gave me a lot of trust in him, and he's followed up on his word, and even things where I like, hey, I don't see eye to eye on that. Like I'll go in his office, he's always got open doors. So like, yeah, he's very trustworthy. I think a lot of guys feel that way.
So we'll get you out of here in a couple more minutes. I got a couple quick hits for you before we let
All
you
right,
go. Number one, what do you remember most about your first major league start?
my first major league start. Most. Oof. I think for me, the whole thing was just cool. It was like getting called up. Like I found out on an airplane, so I had to call my family at like 2 in the morning. And like crazy enough is that like as a kid being a Cardinals fan, I thought I'd make my debut at Busch Stadium,
Right.
and I do make it at Busch Stadium, but I'm wearing the other jersey, so
Miami.
it's kind of it's odd, but like the whole thing was awesome. Like I remember basically the whole day, but just like the general parts. Like I had a lot of family show up. Like I think we had like 35 people show up, and it was like just for them to fly out across the country in a 12-hour notice.
Yeah.
Was like I'm very appreciative of that. I'm very grateful. I had one of my best friends from high school, Ryan. He flew out and like it got to the point where he got there like so close to game time. He was trying to get a hold of me, and I didn't have my phone. And he called my mom, and she had a ticket, and it was just like yeah, it was the whole day was really awesome just to kind of have everybody out there. And then the following day we flew home to Philly, so it was kind of a cool 2-day thing for me to be like I'm inside the lines of the stadium I grew up going to as a kid. It was Chase LA Day, so there was. I mean, I could tell you about it for yeah. I don't. I remember most of it, I should say.
Now, you're a pitcher, but you've gotten some major league hits. What do you remember most about your first major league hit?
My first hit. It was against. Oh my God, he played here. Why can't I think of his? He's in DC. Patrick Corbin. It was all Patrick Corbin.
Okay.
And I was trying to get it over with. I wanted to get my hit because if it went on longer, I was going to hear it from my buddies. So I'm like, I need to get a hit. And the one thing I remember I remember fouling off what I don't think he meant to throw a backdoor slider because that really wouldn't make that much sense. But I remember fouling off a slider going, okay, for me, I saw that pretty good, like in quotation marks, but like, all right, I stayed on that. Like, all right, I'm just going to sell out to the heater here, and just tried to hit a single up the middle. And once I got it, I was like, all right, I got the one hit. Like, I'm good. Like, I can just talk shit to my buddies for the rest of the time. Like, I have one of my really good friends from college, one of my best friends from college. He's like, hey, I'll give you some hitting lessons. And I'm like, how many hits you got in the big leagues? And he's like, none. I said, all right, and pipe down. So I'm glad that I got at least one hit. But yeah, so no, that's something that you dream. Like the only thing I don't have that I'm regretful of is I don't have a home run in the big leagues. That would have been like right on top of the mantle. It would have been the ball. So yeah.
So last question for you, and this sort of leans into that. So would you rather be able to get 2 or 3 at bats a game? Like, do you want to hit, or do you prefer the DH because that allows you to focus more on pitching? If you had your pick, would you hit or would you have the DH?
I would rather have the DH.
Okay.
Like,
all right.
Yeah, 100%. Like, yes, if I'm bitter. I don't have a home run. There was a couple of times I think back now I should have swung through the red light that Torrey gave me. I give him some crap about it now. I'm like, I should have just swung through. I should have just given myself the green light. He's like, yeah, honestly, I don't know what I was doing, giving you the red light sometimes. I'm like, yeah, all right, thanks. But no, there was nothing worse than getting pinch hit for in like the 6th inning. You're at 80 pitches, but you're down 2-1, 2-0, whatever it is.
Right.
And they want to drive a run in. It's like, all right, your day's over. I would. My dad used to go like, he'd be like, swing the bat, like I'd go up there. I'm like, Dad, they're not going to pay me anymore if I get a hit. It doesn't matter. Like if I got to be healthy and I need to make my starts and throw my innings. Like other than that, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it was fun to take BP, but I'm glad that it's over and done with.
Good to know. Well, Zac, I could go on and on and on, but I want to respect your time. Thank you so much for coming on today. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on an incredible season. Congratulations on being a National League champion. Not a whole lot of people in the world get to say something like that. I am rooting for you big time heading into next year. So best wishes for the next year. I hope you can relax and enjoy the off season. I hope you have happy holidays. And from one New Jersey guy to another, thank you very much for being here. We really appreciate it.
No, yeah, thank you. This was a blast. I had a good time. Thanks for having me.
Love it. And thank you everybody for listening. We appreciate it. Cheers, and we'll see you soon.